Margaret. Thank you, everyone, for letting me join you today. The meal was delicious, was it not? You're having a good day? I am so happy to be here because the mission of the Environmental Protection Agency is the best any agency has ever had. All we do every day is protect public health and the environment, and I have people at those tables back there who are doing a heck of a good job. There you go. EPA and LULAC, we share common roots because both of us were born of popular movements where people stood up for their rights. Rights to equal protection under the law, and rights to clean air, clean water, and healthy land. And I'm proud to be part of a long line of strong women who have led EPA in protecting the health of American families, and we have work to do together. One of my role models, Dolores Huerta, credited her mother, Alicia Chavez, for teaching her that everybody was equal. And when Dolores called on farm workers to keep fighting for equal rights, when she told them, "Si se puede," got it? Is that right? Yes, we can? Didn't President Obama steal that from her? Yes! She must also be a fan. She was speaking with her mother's voice. The theme of this year's conference is Familia, the building blocks of our society. Strong women like Alicia Chavez are the cornerstone of our families and the foundation of social change and environmental protection. That is why you are all here today. You are leaders in your families, in your communities, and in your country. And when you take action, others will follow. I need you to act, and I need them to follow. Because by embracing the power of strong women in the cause of social justice, LULAC has made millions of lives better. Thank you. Thank you. Way back in 1938, just 10 years after your founding, you started your first National Women's Office. Ever since then, you've kept on fighting for others. In the same way, EPA has been fighting for 45 years to ensure environmental justice, to make sure that no matter who you are or where you come from, every American has to have clean air to breathe, clean water to drink. In EPA's 45 years, we have had some incredible successes. We've cut air pollution 70% while our nation's economy has tripled. We've cleaned up hundreds of thousands of miles of waterways and dirty sites. And we've banned toxics like lead from our gasoline and DDT pesticides from our farmlands. But I'll be the first to tell you our job is not done. In fact, it's far from being done. Across the country, low-income families, tribal populations, and communities of color are still overburdened by pollution, and pollution continues to make people sick. And we should not have to tolerate that, because that creates barriers to middle-class security. At LULAC, you've been closing gaps of opportunity for generations. That's why at EPA, we need you to work with us, because environmental pollution is another gap that we need to bridge. That's why President Obama has sent me here to ask for your help, because today there is no greater risk to our health, our economy, or our way of life than global climate change. The carbon pollution that is fueling that climate change leads not only to extreme heat and colds and more intense floods and fires and superstorms, but when those disasters strike, guess who gets hit most? It is always those who suffer the most who have the least. That's why we need to work together with our communities, our nation, and our countries around the world, and we need you to help us lead the way. You know, 2 years ago, President Obama laid out a climate plan, and it was to cut harmful pollution that is fueling climate, but also to build a more resilient nation, community by community, so we can face the climate change impacts we are experiencing already today. Last year, during Asthma Awareness Month, I went to Puerto Rico, and I visited people among San Juan's Martin Cano Peña. Cano Peña, thank you. Cano Martin Peña. I was there, and you'd think I'd get that right, wouldn't you? Well, I remember it, everything but the name. I remember it because I was facing mothers with their children, and their children were suffering from asthma rates unlike I have never seen before. Puerto Rican children have twice the asthma rates of any other in the country. 20% of the children. I visited a hospital and went to those asthma wards, watching those children struggling to breathe and seeing the look on those faces of both the children and the mothers. Climate change brings with it increases in asthma rates, premature deaths. This is not about polar bears, folks. It's about your children and your children's future. We have to act because anything else is simply not acceptable. So that's why this summer, EPA will deliver on a major piece of President Obama's agenda. We are going to finalize our Clean Power Plan, and that is designed to limit the carbon pollution that is causing climate change from our nation's largest sources, those big power plants. When we cut pollution, we'll reduce both smog and soot, and with it, we will help reduce those asthma attacks. We will help save thousands of lives. We will help families be able to go to work and our kids to be able to go to school and learn. Do you know, when you look at this rule and it passes, we expect to achieve, just in the year 2030 alone, we're going to avoid 100,000 asthma attacks, 2,100 heart attacks from reduced soot and smog. Is it worth it? You bet it is. And that's what matters for the Latino community. LULAC knows that 40% of Latinos live within 30 miles of those very power plants. It matters to all of us. So this is about our kids. This is about our families, our communities. As Latinos, you know, and as mothers, you know, as leaders, you know, that's why we need your voices. That's why we need you to help on climate change. Because you are going to hear people say that this plan is going to hurt the poor. It's going to hurt minorities. It's going to raise energy prices. It's going to shut down the energy system. I will guarantee you that they've said this every time we've done anything important, and every time they have been dead wrong, and this is going to be no exception. We're going to deliver the public health protections that your children need and that will get you the jobs of the future that we need to demand today. That is what this is about. So just as families with strong women at their hearts, you are the foundation of your society, and you're the foundation of a safe environment, a foundation of a sustainable, opportunity-rich economy, if we can work together. You know, I went to San Diego just a few months ago with Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. And I sat down with women farm workers. And I sat down there with Lideres Campesinas. Did I get that right? Thank you. To hear their stories, I have never been so impressed by strong women in my entire lives. These are women who work for farm workers. They have led grassroots efforts across the country to improve the quality of life in their communities. Speaking to those leaders was inspirational, but it also showed me the incredible work that we need to continue to do together. I want you to know that EPA is going to pass a farm worker protection rule this year that is going to deliver the same protections for farm workers that every other sector has been provided in this country. You know, in the end, our fight for environmental justice, our fight for climate justice, our fight for equal rights is a difficult one, but we have seen progress and we know that we can do it. If you just look at what happened very recently, look at two things. Look at the Supreme Court decisions that have recently happened, which kept our health care accessible, which provided us marriage equality. And if you look at what happened when you had such a tragedy, and because of the will of the American people and the gifted, kind, gracious people in Charleston. They were able to let grace and hope and dignity drive back the hatred that otherwise would have divided us, and a tragedy made us come together. Progress happens. We need to work together to make it happen. So that's why I need you strong women. Come work at EPA, that would be good. If you can't come work at EPA, then talk to your community. Get engaged. Let them know that we can work together. Your voices have credibility and strength in your communities. Talk about these issues with your families. Do what you did way back when LULAC started and demand justice. Demand both climate justice and environmental justice, because that is what is going to make us equal. Nobody gets to work if your kid is sick or if you yourself cannot breathe. Let's be serious about tackling the barriers that are stopping us from having jobs and preventing our kids from having the future that we want. Now, I want to thank you for all of us for getting together, for signing MOUs, for having us work together, and I want to tell you that we will continue this work together. I will learn how to say these Spanish words if it kills me, just while I expect that you will learn all of the EPA acronyms so you can kick some butt when you go to DC, right? Thank you, everybody.